Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get the natural assumption that the dude did it, is the aggressor, and most often he probably is. But I was aggressed upon in this particular occasion. Oh, hey, welcome back to the Tendo show. Listen, I have this weird scenario in my head where someone's not been watching the main channel, but just for whatever reason decides to watch a podcast this week and goes, "Where are you?" Well, this wonderful wallpaper behind me is my childhood home. Welcome to my childhood home. Welcome to our first podcast of maybe, fingers crossed, many to come in my childhood home. How do you feel being in my childhood home, Hannah?
I mean, I don't consider this your childhood home. Whenever you say that, I go, oh yeah, you did grow up here.
Yes, I did. So if somehow you need a quick catch up, we did just move back from Phoenix, Arizona to Kentucky, and we were doing a lot of podcasting before we left. And lately, the last couple of months, the podcasts have been sparse, but every few weeks rather than every week. And we've been using them to kind of update people with the deeper stuff that's going on, because we make our videos and they're just like, how would you describe our normal YouTube Tendo channel videos? They're just like little glimpses of our day,
Just little bubbly snippets.
yeah. I mean, since we went from daily videos to now weekly videos, it's become like, okay, what part of today would it make sense to film for the vlog?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really been 5-10 minutes a day, unless we go thrifting, and it's like
Yeah.
a lot more on those days. But that's all leading to what I really want to talk about on this podcast, and that's our house renovations. Now, we've been using the words renovations on our videos, and we've been showing a little bit. And I will say before we get into it, I really have done a bad job documenting it. And there's not a lot of excuse, but my best excuse is that it's just hard work. And it's definitely something I haven't cared to turn the camera on for. And not to mention, it's just kind of hard to explain to people in so few words, as I will say on our normal videos, that this part of the house has not really been lived in for 20 years.
Oh yeah, and it's definitely something that, like, anytime that someone asks about it, they're like, oh well, I mean, how much work do you have to do? It's like it's completely, it's just been like left alone entirely for years.
Yeah, so we're not going to give you a tour on this podcast. Certainly, maybe on our main channel you'll end up getting one of those. But what's going on is there's a staircase in front of me and my childhood bedroom here, okay? And now there's a couple more rooms here and a bathroom. When I was a kid, that was all closed off, and you could just come up the stairs to my bedroom. And that's the only part of this upstairs that was accessible. It was just a bedroom for me, but food, bathroom, clothing, everything was downstairs.
Right.
And the only time anyone had lived here previous to that was when my father lived here with his first wife, I believe in the 80s.
Okay.
And he did a little bit of plumbing fix it then to get it livable, because even before that, it had probably been, I think, the 50s before anyone had really lived up here. So maybe that'd be 60s. I think my father, as a child, lived up here with my grandmother.
Okay.
Who now owns the house. Little house history for you. And then we'll stick around. We're going to get into what we've really been doing to fix it up. But I think the history goes, the house was built in 22. I don't know who owned it at first. I would imagine it was my grandmother's aunt's parents.
Okay.
And then my grandmother's aunt inherited it. And then in the 50s, 60s, maybe a little before, I don't know the exact time frame, she rented out these rooms up here as separate apartments to families who worked at the General Electric plant down the road. So there was a bunch of people living here effectively in the early days. And then at some point, that was all over. The GE plant became something else before, I think, altogether closing down and or moving a lot of its work. And my grandmother at some point, I think probably in the 80s, inherited it from that aunt. And then it became my grandmother's house. She lived downstairs probably early 80s, by late 80s, and it might have been earlier than that now that I think about it. I don't know the years. I'm trying to think of them as I'm talking, because I do kind of know the history. But she inherited the house, lived downstairs. My father at some point did make this livable up here and live here in the 80s, but very quickly got his own house. And then I actually did not stay in the room up here until probably 2000, if you do the math, probably 2004. 4 or 5.
Okay.
I actually never had my own bedroom until I was 15 or 16.
Wow.
And so I stayed in there from 15 to 16 until I moved out at 19. So I had a bedroom up here for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And that was it. So there's been almost more time that no one's lived up here, almost since the 20s.
Yeah.
More time that no one's lived up here than someone has.
That's kind of crazy. I mean, I've always found the house history to be very interesting when what you've told me about it. You've told me that story before, so I know what the history is. But the thing that's really cool about this house is that there are duplicates of it down the street. Like each house with its own little personality, each like little design features that are different. But there are other houses on the street that are still apartments. So it's kind of cool to know that that was its history and that it is, these houses are still used for that purpose even today. Because
Yeah.
like you look up here and what is up here in this floor plan, you go, yeah, this is like definitely built to be intended to have multiple families in, which is unheard of these days.
Yeah.
People build houses this size that are just for one family. And, you know, if you think about it, the way that the house is, you're like, well, it would be so nice to have, you know, the living room, kitchen, all that stuff downstairs, like a traditional home, make all these bedrooms and everything. It's unheard of to think that this would be a separate space.
Well, let me tell you something else that's interesting about it. Because of that, because there's so much up here that was built early on to house multiple people, the next several houses on this block are actually rental properties. They turned out to be perfect rental properties for everyone because there's multiple gas lines to the house, multiple water lines, multiple.
That is interesting too. Like, yeah, their intended function was to be multiple families. This is so strange.
Yeah, it is. It is odd. I definitely agree. And now trying to move us up here and make this space livable, that's made it really interesting because I'm like, what's this? What's that? You know, like the line, and we're not gonna be able to show you, but there's this pipe sticking out of the floor in my bedroom, and it's the bedroom, and it's a gas line for old school heaters.
Oh, okay.
But if you wanted to put if you wanted to adapt it a little bit and make it a gas stove, you wouldn't really have too hard of a time doing so. You know, so.
Well, it's interesting too that like all the stuff in this house was built in the 20s, so it's all old. So a lot of it is already a little weird because it's not modern that we're used to. But then on top of it, it's like, oh, but there's also these weird features that it's supposed to be meant for completely separate living situations. So.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, we found that out last night. Here's a good little story. I don't think I said anything about this on the main channel video. We went to hang our TV. And, well, first of all, we bought a 70-inch, which is way bigger than any TV we've owned. But we figured we were going to do it right this time and play some Mario Kart on the ungodly 70 inches. And I've enjoyed it. But we first buying a TV that big, first of all, the legs on the base of it are 60 inches apart.
Yeah.
And we're kind of left with a hand-me-down, super vintagey dresser for our bedroom right now until we find ourselves something else, until we get to the nearest IKEA or something. But it's fine. But it looks really wide. It's wider than any dresser I've ever had, but it's 48 inches wide. It's nowhere close to holding our TV.
And the drawers are actually quite tiny because people had tiny clothes.
Yes, like 5 pairs of underwear is tiny. Well, I got big underwear, but we don't have to talk about that. But what we found out was, well, okay, we have to mount the TV to the wall. And I've actually never had a mounted TV. I've mounted them, you know. I
haven't either, actually.
Well, for work or something or other, I've helped people mount TVs, drilled some holes. You know, it's not a hard thing to do. But modern studs in the wall are like 16 inches apart. And these walls studs are 21 inches apart. Now, I guess maybe that was a standard in 1922. I don't know. If you're a construction or construction buff, let us know. But the studs in my bedroom are 21 inches apart.
I mean, I didn't know how wide studs typically are, but, you know, you said that. You're like, they're 21 inches apart. I'm like, well, cool.
And it was repeatable. So because of that, the TV mount that we bought to put our TV on the wall won't actually collapse all the way against the wall. There's a bunch of space behind the TV because the way I ended up just mounting it quick last night was with the arms of it stretched out too far.
Yeah.
They're only supposed to stretch. They give you a little give so you can do like 16 to 19, but it's stretched out that full 21. I can solve the problem with some sinkers and some other stuff, but we got it up last night, and actually it's turning out fine because I also have a dozen gaming consoles to plug into it.
Yeah.
So it's actually working out to where I just kind of run all the cables up in that space behind. So I think it's going to work out for us. But that was all to illustrate an example of how this old house, this 1922 house that was built without plumbing originally, is odd, and it's very odd to work on. And to be honest with you, I've got some skill sets. You know, I can work on a little electrical, a little plumbing, a little this, a little that, but like plumbing's a good one. I never did any serious plumbing, you know. So as soon as we moved in, and Hannah, feel free to chime in when you want to, but I want to tell the saga of our bathroom situation.
Oh my gosh.
There's just no way, again, to tell on our regular videos everything that happened with the bathroom. But if I leave anything out, let me know.
Well, I'll interject before you start. Like you said earlier that there was you had done a bad job of showing all the things in the videos of what we're doing, because like a lot of it is like extremely annoying, tedious things that nobody wants to watch, like the bathroom saga.
Yes, honestly, I could have made a now month-long vlog just about the bathroom stuff. And part of the frustration of the bathroom is that I'm not a skilled plumber, so there's that. But also a lot of it, probably most of it, is that it hasn't been used since the 80s. So here's how the bathroom saga goes. We move here from Phoenix, and we get here, and we're coming home to stay at my grandmother's house to help out because of her health, and that's a whole another conversation, probably for another vlog. A lot of people, thank you by the way, a lot of kind words in our comments about my grandmother, asking how she's doing. She's actually been to the hospital again for a stretch since we've been home, but is now home. So a few of you will be happy to hear that. She's doing okay right now. But we just kind of hightailed it back here because of her health, and we didn't want to not be around if something worse happened. And also physically she needs help right now. So I had to get home to help. So I'm here. Another side note, I'm sure you're going to hear these sirens going by. It's going to be interesting podcasting in this house also because the insulation sound-wise isn't great. And we're equidistant in between a hospital and a police department and a fire department. So just ignore the sirens. Everything's okay. I swear. And this just will bring up something for later podcasts, but I lived in this house for many, many years, and I'm completely tone deaf to sirens because of that. That's every 5 minutes. You'll probably hear it again before this podcast is over. But so I'm trying to illustrate the point that we don't really know what we're coming home to. Of course, it's my home. I'm welcome here, and we're welcome to do whatever. But, do they want us up there? Are they okay with us doing anything? Sure enough, we get home, and they're like, do whatever you want. They've told us, paint what you want, no real limitations. So, of course, the first thing I want to do is get that bathroom working. So, I go, okay, well, what do you know about it? What's going on with the bathroom? Well, we just kind of turned all the water off back in the late 80s because we heard something dripping and we saw a little water damage. So we didn't know what that meant. They thought it was the toilet leaking. They were pretty sure. So I go up there, I turn the water on. All right, we're going to test this. And what I find out immediately is that the flushing mechanism inside the toilet bowl, the tank rather than the bowl, is broken. But broken to the point where the stopper that stops the water, when you pull a toilet lever, there's a chain that pulls an arm, and the arm lifts the thing blocking the water from coming down into the bowl. Pretty simple. That thing has broken off into the hole in a strange way that I don't know that I could tell you. It just kind of, because it's probably been there for 40 years, it just kind of broken off in there. But it was leaking, so that's what it was. When there was water in the tank, they were hearing it drip, 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 and it would drive me nuts because this house is old. The pipes aren't really in the walls; they're through the rooms.
Yeah.
The pipe from upstairs, the water drain, goes right beside some cabinets downstairs in the kitchen. That's just how it is. It's been that way since whenever they installed plumbing, 30s or 40s or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't actually know what the time frame of that was. So I go, okay, so this toilet's probably not leaking. It was leaking, but it was leaking in the pipe. They were afraid it was leaking in walls and stuff. Good. So we go to the parts store. I buy all the toilet replacement stuff. I come home and I replace that mechanism, and then immediately the metal arm attached to the flushing handle breaks. And I'm like, I'm not going back to the store 5 times to buy more toilet stuff. I'm buying a new toilet.
Yeah.
I go to Lowe's. I buy the cheapest toilet I can. Huge mistake because it's tiny and I'm not.
I have no problem with it.
It's so small. It's so
It
small.
is like a little tiny little, like you sitting on a bucket. Like it's not working.
And I don't know what to tell you guys. It's not tiny. 90% of you watching would think it were normal, but it's too small for me. I'm huge. So I already want to go spend another $300 on a nicer toilet. Might do that eventually. But I put that toilet in and we go to use it. And it kind of seems fine for that day or so. But then we basically start having really serious plumbing issues downstairs.
Oh, it was so bad.
And this is like second or third day we're here, right? And so we immediately go, okay, obviously we're causing this upstairs. We're not going to flush it anymore. So we then undergo this process of, none of us really want to pay for a plumber to come because it doesn't quite seem serious enough for that. And I don't know if you guys know, but plumbers charge by the hour. Sometimes, or at least here they do, the ones we know, and it's a lot of money. I mean, obviously sometimes if you know what's wrong, certain things can be a standard fee. But we did not want to do that. So we kind of waited around, and by the next week, we had someone in 3 or 4 days come and run a snake through our drain.
Yeah.
Fixed our problems. But it's an interesting thing because it's not like downstairs was really having a problem. But the moment those pipes try to push stuff past each other, it was like, no.
They were like, I'm not awake yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Huge clogs. So that was like, oh, okay, crap. But then we were like, oh, fantastic. We have a toilet, and that's better than nothing because at least in the middle of the night, we don't have to get up and go downstairs to use the bathroom because that disturbs my grandmother, and we weren't going to do that. And so once we had a toilet, we were like, okay, it's starting to feel a little bit more like we're not living in a hole and we're living in a house. So then it's on to the sink, right? And now, mind you, all the while, we're also cleaning out carpet up here, and this is like every day we wake up and try to accomplish something in this house that we're basically renovating to live in for maybe the next couple of years. And at any rate, we're trying to leave it better than it was,
right?
So other family members could use it. So we have it to stay if we move away again, but come back, because it's honestly always been a difficult thing for us traveling and coming back here because there never was an easy place to stay. But now that this is cleared out and being renovated, I can't wait to the day that we don't live here and need a place to stay when we come home, because this is going to be perfect. Multiple rooms, no problem.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we have a toilet. So I move on to the sink, and there's this same exact thing happens where we're like, oh, this works. Okay, this is good.
Yeah.
But then a couple days later, wait, there's a problem. I turned the sink on and the bathtub on once at the same time and had a bad water leak downstairs that took a little bit of work to clean up. It was bad. But because I kind of ran them at the same time, we were a little confused about what was leaking. It turns out they both were. But it took another several weeks here, a couple weeks, to figure out that the bathtub's pipes are leaking. However, and I mean in the walls and the floors, and the sink was leaking, but only from its drain under the cabinet, which is actually pretty easy to fix. But this sink is just worn out. It's not original, but it's certainly, it's not 1922, but it's probably wasn't even 80s. It was probably before that.
Yeah.
So it was good. It had to go. So I ripped it out, and we went and bought, and you'll see this on our main channel video, just like a utility basin large sink, because it's cheap, and we're going to kind of wait for, to go to thrifty places and find something a little, maybe more period specific. But at least while we're here, we use it to wash jeans and stuff. And again, Hannah, let me know if I'm leaving anything out. But like this, I really want to illustrate the amount of time that's passed, right? Because it's just like, wake up. There literally for 2 or 3 weeks, it's like, wake up, something works.
Yeah, we're like, hey, we have a toilet. No, we don't have a toilet. We might have a toilet. We don't have a toilet.
And then, we might have a sink. And then so finally, I get that sink plugged in, and the way I'm sitting, I'm looking right at it while I'm talking about it. And it works. It works great. Well, it worked great, but I didn't have the right fittings. And so it took a couple days. Not being a plumber, plumbers look at pipes and go, you need one of these curly bobs and jilly bobs, and they figure it out. It took me a couple tries to do that because I'm not a plumber. But I finally got it. Our sink has been wonderful. So now we have toilet and we have sink. And I come home, and while we're working on that sink, Hannah's down on the ground, and the whole time in the back of our heads, it's like we have to keep going downstairs and taking showers down there. It would just be better to kind of have privacy, be able to leave the door open and be buck ass nude. I'm trying to censor myself. Yeah. So I want that bath to work, and it's in the back of my head. And Hannah goes, "Come here, look at this." The drain pipe from the bathtub is detached. Completely detached.
Like,
now, anybody with any plumbing skills at all is going to be like, well, how'd you miss that? Well, it's a clawfoot tub. It's a super vintage clawfoot tub. I mean, no one...
Beautiful.
I don't know that it's from 1922. I guess I don't think that it is. This house might have been built with plumbing. I actually don't know with American history when plumbing did or didn't come about, and even so, when it reached this rural town, it could have been built with plumbing. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable about this kind of thing, but this clawfoot tub, nobody does remember a time without it, right? So it's super old. It's in good shape. It's a nice old vintage clawfoot tub. However, the way that the pipes are ran down, they're kind of hidden away and you wouldn't notice. But while we were down here working on the sink, Hannah noticed this. So we're like, yes, that just means all I got to do is get a pipe fitting to plug it into the drain. And so we did that. We went and bought one and got it plugged up, ran the bath water again, same problem. That pipe, the drain pipe for the toilet, for the tub is leaking. Now, interestingly, even though that pipe was detached, it turns out we were kind of lucking out and it wasn't leaking anyways, because drain pipe and then, the pipe out of the tub and the drain pipe, the water was just falling like 90%, maybe 10% of it was dripping over. It wasn't enough for the leakage we had downstairs. So it turns out, even though that's not attached, we still have the same problem. So right now, we do have a shower downstairs. It's no problem to go take a shower there, but we don't have our own private tub yet. So we have plans over the next couple of weeks to
do some serious plumbing.
Tear some floors up and refit some pipes, replace some pipes, rerun some already existing pipes. It's going
to be a lot of work. I mean, I don't feel like I'm going to be involved with it too much, but I've never personally done any plumbing, and I've always wanted to learn as much as I can about home renovation stuff. So I'm looking forward to fixing an issue in a house that is not something that I would usually have my hands on. I don't like that there's an issue, but at the same time, hey, here's a chance to learn something.
I will say, as odd as all this is, this house is probably going to be a good kind of practice run for us to learn. I mean, we're looking ahead to buying our own house and stuff, but because of the oddity of this house, things like plumbing are actually easier accessible than a new modern house would be. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, because it's so old, you already half want to replace walls and wood panels and stuff.
Yeah.
If you tear stuff up, it's almost a good thing.
And the nice thing too, I know we've been revealing a lot of hardwood floors in this house. The bathroom floor looks like it's already been replaced once.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're going to be ripping up really old, original to the house kind of stuff. So that's always kind of nice too. I don't have to feel too bad about the flooring getting ripped up.
Yeah, for sure. And we, in the midst of doing all this plumbing, we've ripped up the floor in the bathroom, and it's kind of just a raw wood right now, and we're very much so looking forward to tiling it, because that bathroom's nice. I mean, our utility sink is a little bit out of the ordinary.
Yeah, which I like the look of the utility sink in that room, because even when you suggested it for the first time, I was like, well, that bathroom is kind of like a country cottage kind of feel, a farmhouse feel. So a basin sink is totally fine, but it is kind of a plastic. So if it were a cast iron basin, that would be beautiful in there.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but when people are like, oh, this is a bachelor pad, I guess if I was left to my own devices, I'd be very proud of that sink. I don't think it looks bad in there, because it kind of matches the clawfoot tub, which is essentially what you're saying. It matches that large, wide open, when things were way more utility than they were looks back when. I love it. And I've got it anchored to the wall, and you could fill it up with 20, I think it was maybe 20 gallons. It's less than that. You could definitely put 2 5-gallon buckets in there diagonal, and then there's some, so maybe 2.5, so maybe 15 gallons for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you already got a compliment on it once. We had somebody up here, and they're like, "Oh, I like that sink." I was like, "Thanks."
Well, and it's everything up here is wide open too, so it fits because everything's so wide open. That little tiny toilet, though, I gotta get a bigger one. I'm so big, man. You know what? I weighed myself today.
Oh no. Where did you do that?
Well, first of all, my grandmother had a scale. So my grandmother just coming home from the hospital, she's having a problem with fluid on her lungs. And because of that, she has to be weighed every morning. If there's a sudden increase in weight by 3 or 4 pounds, it's going to be because the fluid has gone to her lungs again.
Gotcha.
And they're using that to know it's coming.
Gauge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a little electronic scale. And I've long maintained, a lot of you might have heard me joke a couple times on prior podcasts or on our regular channel, normal electric bathroom scales never weigh me. They always cut out. I've always only been able to weigh myself at say maybe doctor's offices, certainly at airports. Every time I go into an airport, I jump on the use it yourself, do it yourself luggage weigher.
Yeah.
And then vet clinics sometimes. I've been able to,
gyms, I think.
Sometimes.
Some gyms.
Maybe. So it's always difficult to know exactly how much I weigh. Now, I am down a good bit more than I was, say, 2000.
Post-pandemic.
Well, not even that. I don't know how high. Yeah, maybe I got a little high post-pandemic. But, yeah, you're right. But I was more so thinking like, about 2015, before this channel, I got my biggest, probably 285 or 385. So I got on a scale today, and I was so surprised it worked. It was a little electric scale, and I had no problems. I weigh 345.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah, so not bad. That's only 40 pounds more than I was when we met.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all compared to kind of where I was.
I don't want to get on it because I know that I'm overweight.
You don't want me to bring it up here and put it by our beautiful sink?
I'm all right.
Yeah, so that was just a side note. Why did I think of that? What were we talking about?
I don't know.
How did I
really
get
don't
there?
know. Okay, so back to the bathroom.
Anyways, rewind. I brought it up for a reason, I'm sure, but I'm just this maybe brings up another really good point, this bit of confusion, because my brain is firing on all cylinders, right? Because, I'm here to help around with my grandmother. So like I'm up here, me and Hannah are pulling a couple nails, and then I'm running downstairs and getting Granny something to drink, and then I'm coming back up here, and it's just it's a little bit more multitasking on a human level. I'm good at multitasking. Mm-hmm. It's what's made me good at the jobs that I've had in the creative fields. Multitasking is a strong suit. I'm able to, you guys have seen it, I'm able to do our live shows and talk to you, press buttons, and not usually lose my train of thought. But multitasking with people is different. I think this is one of the big takeaways you're going to hear me talk about in the time to come about this move and this transition in our life. Like, I think I'm so good at these technical computer camera lighting mathematical things in your head that like I don't know that I've ever really, I didn't ever have waiting jobs and some of the more typical things some of you guys might have had. So I'm actually just in a strange way learning to be a little bit better at being social, which is weird to say because I don't know, I don't want to speak for others' point of view of me, but I'm a pretty social person.
Yeah, I mean, you're not by any means introverted or
No.
like socially awkward. So
in this social setting, I'm pretty good at being clear about talking to other people. But there's just something I'm realizing that like when we've gotten here that I'm maybe not as good at it as I thought, and or there's more depth to being socially present or just being present with people than I thought, because it's like it's kind of easy for me to be working on something up here, whether it be editing or video or whatever, in the mindset I was probably while we were in Phoenix, not in a mindset where my family's not through another door. And I go down there and I realize like my brain's not turned on to talk to my family and other people.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
yeah, I can understand what that would be like.
I'm probably explaining something pretty simple, but you guys just have to understand we've been away from home for 11 years, more than just forever.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, so it's been interesting to try to adapt back into being around family life. didn't remember what it was like at all.
Yeah, I mean, our lifestyle in Phoenix was definitely a little bit more reclusive. And not exactly by us like being antisocial or something like that. We're very busy people, and so we work a lot, and so social situations don't always.
A lot of our friends there, this is hard to explain. It's just different, and we've got some other podcast projects coming up with other people and stuff that really we want to tackle these kind of subjects a little bit, but big town life is just different than small town life.
It really is.
In so many ways that I didn't realize until we got back.
Yeah.
Now, you would think it'd be the other way around. You get to and it was. There was a lot of adapting to living in a big city, but it was very easy to get used to. Mm-hmm. And now, 10 years into that, coming home, there's a laundry list of things I'm like, oh, this is just different. So, case in point, we had great friends and still have great friends in Phoenix that were already, just being gone for a month, super excited to get back and visit. We already miss a lot there. But friends there, we had, 4 or 5 sets of friends, and all of them we would hang with once a month, once every couple months. I mean, we text regularly, as a lot of us do, but we just, there's only really time in our adult busy lives to just kind of do something every other day. Now, mind you, these same friends all live an hour away, 45, it's kind of, and we all have jobs and stuff. So it was never a problem. We never thought about it. But now that we're home, the frequency with which I get a text message is like, hey, you want to get lunch? And I'm like, of course I do. It's real. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And this is no complaint. I'm finding I love this. I absolutely love a casual lunch with friends with no pre-planning. My personality is very open to that. Some people don't like that kind of thing. I understand. But it turns out maybe because I grew up that way, I'm way more open to it than I would have thought. But the real important thing about that is that I just never considered any of this before we moved back.
Yeah.
All this talk about moving back home and what we're going to do, none of this crossed my mind. This is all brand new to me.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of felt like that would happen. But I feel like, they say that a small town is, everything's slow. Things slow down, people. And it's not necessarily that it's like slow pace compared to the big city is hustle and bustle. It's that people value things a little bit differently, I guess. So like going and like spending a casual lunch with friends for an hour of your day is totally like normal. Everything's close by. You're 5 minutes away from the restaurant. Like it's it's not an inconvenience.
It is. And maybe that has a lot to do with it. And I think a lot of people watching are probably going to have their own opinions of these things, depending on the size of the cities that they do or have lived in, and feel free to comment them. But you're right. The size of the city is affected so much. Like, we go to a Walmart a lot more right now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're working on the house. We're looking for cheap plumbing parts. So, it's a little easier to go get super hyper specific things at Walmart than it is to go to Home Depot and dig through the pro plumbing aisle. So a trip to Walmart here is a hop and a skip. Also, and this one's a little bit more dangerous, but to add to that point, we live really close to a Rally's.
Yeah.
So close, in fact, that I can, during a commercial break, and we're going to open cans and cans of worms here. We have cable TV for the first time in my adult life.
Yeah.
Never had it, but we do. And I'll watch late night, when it airs or something like that. Commercial break starts. I run out the front door, get in the car, get back here with french fries and milkshakes before the TV show comes back on.
It's stupid. It's really stupid.
You couldn't get out of our gated community in Phoenix that fast. Not even close. It would take.
You'd sit at the stoplight.
No, it takes me that long to walk to my car.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's crazy. So, but I'm saying that because you're right. Like the thing with friends, it's so much more of an endeavor to get people on the same page to go do stuff like that. And here it's just like, see, it's a Mexican restaurant in 5. Okay,
I'll be there.
Yeah. And I do love that. Now, am I ready to settle down here back in my hometown for the rest of my life? Am I that ready? No, I don't. But I'm going to, for sure. This is the promise I've made to myself, to you. I'll make it to you guys. I am going to cherish my ability to have this time and that ease of having time with people as long as we're here. If it's 2 more days or 2 more years, I'm very happy and eager to cherish that and use it wisely.
Yeah.
I really am. And maybe this is just growing up. Who knows? I mean, it's probably different for everyone, right? But like, I do find myself more so than ever being able to be present with people, and it's so dumb. I don't want to quote The Office, but I think someone in The Office, there was some scene where they were like, I think Dwight. I saw this on a meme the other day. I'll be honest with you, can't remember it actually from the show, but it was a Dwight Schrute meme, and it was like, I wish I could know it was the good times while I'm in them before they pass. Somebody, an Office buff, comment if that was an actual thing, but I saw a meme that said Dwight said it, and I was like, and this is a thought we've all had. You and I have discussed this before off camera, but like, I think we talk about it a lot with our college days. Mm-hmm. That like, a lot of our college friends don't have such happy memories as I feel like I do. I went to school at 23, whereas you went at like 17, right? And a lot of our friends were like that. So going at 23, I had a little bit more perspective and feel super thankful I waited that long, because 17-year-old stupid me, wouldn't have been so present.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling that way for the first time again. We're like, I'm back home doing something different. And I almost feel certain that a couple years from now, for sure, I'm going to look back at this and be happy that I had it, and hopefully not wish that I'd paid more attention, but, very likely may. So I'm trying really hard while we're here to be present and, really cherish this time with my grandmother, because I just had 10 years of seeing her probably 10 times, 12 times.
Yeah.
And so the house stuff, I know we're telling stories and it can kind of sound like we're complaining, and there's been some hard stuff, but it's all been pretty good. It's all been pretty, I guess, fulfilling is the word I used to describe it yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's rewarding, I feel. I know that we're doing all this house renovation stuff so that we can live here, so it's easy to go, well, you're doing all this work for you, but at the same time, like, this is not our house. It's not something that we will ever like have as our house, really, but like we're kind of doing it as a way to kind of like do it for your grandma a little bit, because I know it's something that she wants done as well,
for sure,
and it's not something she can do.
She's always been very what's the right word? She's always loved the outside of her house. She's always had a little garden and a patio area and a swing and wind chimes. And
you can tell when you look at it, you go, oh, there's definitely a place where a flower bed used to be.
Yeah.
There's like, a bird bath there.
We've spent a good little bit of time last week. I haven't done anything outside really this week. Redoing the front of her house. She's got a beautiful screened-in patio, unlike one probably you've ever seen. It's almost a sun porch. I don't know how to, but it's great. It's awesome. And, she was the one that always took care of it. And honestly, the last 10 years since I've been gone, it hasn't been kept up very well. It hasn't just deteriorated, but it's getting bad. So we've sprayed a little paint. I replaced some screen doors. And honestly, I ask her every day. I was like, anything else you think of you want done? Because I kind of don't know what's what. I've gotten home and I've had to kind of figure out, look around, inspect, and ask. And so she's like, yesterday she's mentioned a specific window in the house. Now let's see, I can count them in my head: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 windows in the house. A couple small ones, lots of big ones. It's a big old 1922 house. She mentioned a window on this side of the house that's broken, and I went and looked at it. I was like, sure enough. So I did the research on how to get glass panes replaced in windows, and that's something I'm going to do this week.
Yeah.
And that's been another kind of just like refreshing thing about it. It's just like we're not in a hurry, really. And it's like we wake up every day and I'm like, what can we accomplish? Or what can I accomplish tomorrow? And so I think tomorrow, actually, I'm going to take those windows out. And I'm going to do it one at a time. It's like $30-$40 a piece. And I don't want to leave too many windows off the house and things get cold. But
for sure, especially because it's been raining quite a bit lately.
Yeah. So,
it's like there's a lot of things that I know that she would be doing if she were able.
For sure.
And so those are the things I try to think of.
And the windows and the front porch stuff is that, for sure. That's why we did it so soon, because as soon as she saw it was done, she was just like, thank you so much.
Yeah. And I think like yard work is definitely a top thing on your list, which your dad does do a lot of
Yeah,
upkeep.
my
on
dad
the
takes care of the yard pretty well. He's blowing leaves again when we got home today.
They fall so fast here; it's insane.
Well, the outdoor stuff is a little bit difficult for me actually. There's some poison ivy in spots real bad around the house that we've never been able to get rid of because there's not really a good way. I don't know if you know this. There's not really a great way to get rid of poison ivy rather than wrapping yourself up and pulling it out.
That's kind of what I think we might have to do. I'm just going to put myself in a hazmat suit.
Tyvek suit, yeah, for sure. I mean, you really might have to because, like, I love yard work. I'll rake that bee, I'll hoe that bee. You know what I mean? No problems here, but just any possibility of poison ivy, and there is some, and it's kind of gotten worse because a few things.
I don't get it as bad as you,
right.
So I'm like, that's why I'm like, I'll have to be the one to do it.
Yeah, and so maybe you can do that as soon as spring comes around, and then we can, if we're here in the summer, I can tear down some stray trees and bushes, and you know, we can make it really good again. But poison ivy is a bad one. It's the only reason I haven't done more yard work already. It's the one thing I will, until the poison ivy's gone, pretty much refuse to do.
Yeah. Which I know is something she wants done.
I have such a fear of poison ivy. I think about taking a big chunk of money and just giving it to a landscaper to pull all that out.
You get poisoned.
Yeah, well, those guys know what they're doing, and those guys tend to get booster shots to keep it off of themselves.
That's good.
I get it bad, and my little brother does too. And the very last time he did yard work before we came back for my grandmother, covered.
It was bad.
Oh, it was so bad. It was the worst.
I felt so bad for him.
Yeah,
he was miserable.
Let's not talk about such ugly things. I hate poison ivy, and it's, you know what? We didn't have to deal with it at all. The last 10 years being gone, I never saw one single strand of it. It grows in humid places, and we've lived in about as unhumid places as a human being can.
This is true.
So that's another thing. So I don't know what else is there to talk about this, because I wanted this podcast to live on our podcast channel and just serve as a beginning stamp of this journey we're on. And we've been using the podcast channel to do that, right? To kind of document that. That's why before we left, our last podcast before this one on our channel is before we left Phoenix. And I think if you frequented any of our channels and you go watch that podcast and this one back to back, you're going to have an interesting experience, because that feels like it was 2 years ago to me.
So long ago.
How do you feel about that? Matter of fact, I don't have. So a lot of the time I have our podcasts set up to where we can watch things, and this is obviously in my hallway. You can't even walk into our bedroom right now without moving the podcast table. But if I had that, I'd love to play a clip of it right now and get your reaction, because
like, that girl didn't know anything.
We look like children. We've done so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I think back on that time ago. That feels like 6 years ago. But then I think about the time that we've been here already, and I go, "Oh, we've been here like a week."
Yeah. Well, you want to know what else is new?
What?
I wear hats now.
Yeah, that is true. You do. You wear hats. You wear boots.
That's weird. Is that weird for you? I mean, it is. It is for sure a far cry from my booty shorts, my
your
tank
Crocs
tops.
and your swim trunks.
Yeah, which was 90% of my wardrobe in Phoenix. I embrace the cold. I do. I'm back, and I don't mind wearing pants and stuff. And I honestly, in sub freezing. So in America, 32 degrees. What's freezing Celsius? 0. So just above 0 Celsius. I can wear a normal pair of thin pants, and my legs and feet never really get cold. My ears and maybe my face are the only thing I kind of have to bundle up. But I am built for the cold, man. I really am. And I've kind of embraced that being back. However, I do not embrace walking through the rain without a good solid pair of water, at least resistant, if not proof, shoes or boots.
I've been very surprised with how, pun intended, I've been able to weather the weather.
Weather the weather?
I've been adequately dressed and appropriately covered.
It's so strange.
Stuff,
I guess.
Except for.
Oh, okay.
Except for my shoes.
Have you been getting wet feet?
Well, I've been wearing these Vans everywhere.
Okay.
And they're too thin. And my toes get cold.
Oh, so you're talking more about cold. Yeah.
And so I need to invest in a pair of boots.
I
will not be wearing cowboy boots.
Well,
no.
I moved here with a pair of Crocs and a pair of tennis shoes that I haven't put on yet. So I did go buy the $75 special boots at Walmart, which was a mistake. As someone who has actually, though you guys haven't seen it on our channel, prior to our channel, I've been a boot wearer. Not pointy-toed, kill a cockroach in a corner cowboy boots. Not what I'm talking about. Not that I mind those. They just don't fit my feet well. I can't. My feet's kind of wide in weird ways. It's impossible for me to get them through the mouth. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
It's impossible. I don't know the last time I could get a pair of boots on. But I got a pair of boots as soon as we got here because I walked outside one time. It rained the day we got here. Wet feet. Went and bought boots. I've been a little bit bummed, though, because it was a waste of money because I need a nicer pair of boots. I'm not going to make it through the weather if I don't. And then the hat, I think it's... I'm never terribly conscious of my hair or if it's messy or anything, but, like, it's almost with the humidity level here, even though it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with it, so I've just put a hat on.
I am going to be experiencing a change in my hair because I've never had long hair in this weather.
Right.
So whenever I left home, I started growing my hair out because I started living in places that were not as humid and I could manage just normal, natural hair. So I'm very curious how that's going to turn out. If I need to chop all my hair off again, or
you can put that on the list of things that I didn't think about, didn't see coming.
I didn't either.
I don't know, when you can find some pictures of me on the internet. Just Google my name, I guess. You can see some old MySpace pictures or something where I had no joke MySpace. I think my MySpace thumbnail was like me with hair down to my shoulders.
Yeah,
but I mean that was 2003, 4. I haven't had long hair at all back here. And so, not that my hair is that long right now. I guess since we're doing a video podcast right now, I can show you. But, you know, like my bangs are down to my nose.
Yeah.
But it behaves real funny. And I actually, now that I'm here and living through it, I kind of remember it. My hair got a lot easier to kind of deal with when we moved out of the humid climate. Mm-hmm. I didn't think much about it, but now that I'm back, I see it all. I know what's going on. So either I'm gonna have to buzz it shorter, or I'm gonna have to be a guy who wears hats.
Or you have to be somebody that wakes up in the morning and puts pomade in your hair.
In the winter, maybe. Again, it's gonna get so humid and hot here in the summer. I don't think that'd be me. It'll just leak right
You'd be
out.
a Dapper Dan man.
But yeah, that's another thing. I don't know what else really there is to talk about, but I'm happy to kind of get all this out there because it's. If you watch our videos and look for this house stuff, it's a whirlwind. It's just kind of like, new scene, new. You know, it just happens real quick because I'm not leaving cameras rolling on all this. It's too hard. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I guess like we should recap like what we have done.
You want to list it?
And then what we would like,
What's
we
next?
still need to do, and like what we're excited to do.
That's a good idea because then we need to make another podcast when it's kind of done or in a more done state. Okay, so I already listed the bathroom. What else have we done that's been like serious?
We pulled up the carpet on the stairs, the hallway, and our bedroom.
Starting with the stairs.
And pulled the tile up in the bathroom.
And that took a little doing because we had to have a place to stay when we got here. So like we kind of moved into one room, pulled the carpet out of the hallway, moved everything out of the hallway, and vice versa. And it's taken a lot. So there's still really 2 rooms to remove carpet from. Mm-hmm. But yesterday, and we actually just got done filming some stuff about this for our main channel video, but we removed all the carpet from the bedroom, put down new carpet, installed our new TV, and it actually, sitting here, looks like a normal bedroom.
It looks pretty nice in there.
I'm happy with it. It's really the first room that's kind of done. Honestly, it needs, what did I say? It needs some curtains.
Yeah.
And
lighting.
Proper lighting and some bedside tables.
Yeah.
And bedroom's done. We won't really maybe paint it one day, but it'll be done, which again is good because forever and always in the future, we're going to have this room to come back here, turn a heater on, crash in, even if we don't live here anymore. Yeah. So I wish we'd done that years ago. And honestly, I don't know why we didn't, because we've had some miserable times, you know, sleeping on couches and stuff here in town.
Yeah, that's true.
Because there's just wasn't any extra space for us. But it's good. It's good now. I'm very, very happy with it. And I laid in bed earlier in our bed that we just put in there, played Mario Kart on my 70-inch TV screen, and just loved life.
Yeah, it's good.
If you haven't played Mario Kart on 70 inches, please... find a way to do so.
Black Friday deals.
Yeah. It's very, very worth it. I almost want to go buy a second one of those TVs. So nice. Yeah, so carpets,
We did the
etc.
carpets. I mean, the porch has been an endless kind of like work in progress
Yeah.
because we cleaned off the porch and then we put things on it to kind of get it out of our way, clean them off again.
It's kind of our buffer zone to move stuff onto. But we did, there was basically no screen door on the screened-in porch.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that on there. There's a couple holes in the screens, a couple places where it had come out of where it was tacked in.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good as new. I've fixed all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to because our cats both want to be outside cats. They think they're outside cats, but they're not. They're not suited for nature, but they want to be there. They think they're lions. So anything you can do to get them closer outside is a huge win. It gets them on your side. So we leave the front door cracked a little bit for them to go out onto the screened-in porch, and they're ecstatic. I think that alone has made them forgive us for uprooting their lives
and throwing away their cat perch.
Yeah, which
we need to get a new
we
one.
need a new cat perch.
We do.
Bad.
We've done a lot of work in the like what is supposed to be like the kitchen room that is going to be our workshop.
Correct.
So
That's like, I don't know. That doesn't feel like anything serious. It's really a
Yeah.
bunch of moving stuff around. We'll have to show that off at some point. I already kind of have because it's where we're shipping stuff.
yeah.
And
It was like the first room to become, other than our bedroom, to become like functional for us because like we needed a space to ship stuff. Like that had to get done really quickly. So I feel like it's only like 30% done.
yeah, it's going to be a work in progress more than like the bedroom. But the bedroom's going to be done. And then we're going to just finish the hallway. And we have a whole other bedroom that's essentially going to be our living room, which I'm very excited because as of now, I'm not going to go full Yellow Shelves collection. I know that was such a huge part of our channel, and I definitely still want it to be, but if it is in the near future going to be, it's going to be because we have a separate space away from home. We're kind of making a health choice to keep a lot of work away from home, and just home is for friends and family to come over, which is something we lacked. This is another good point. Maybe that should have been included with our friends conversation earlier, but we maybe 2 or 3 times in the 4 or 5 years in Phoenix had people over.
Yeah.
I
And whenever we did, there wasn't really like a place for them.
and now don't get me wrong, this was by choice.
Yeah.
This was very deliberately made by choice because we were going for this YouTube dream and stuff like that. Not that we've given that up, but we're definitely going to, from here on out, kind of separate that from life and family. I mean, a little, at least in a little bit different way. I'm not saying totally, because obviously we're still documenting this home. I keep saying renovation, and I feel dumb saying it because it's not at all. We're not tearing out walls, we're not rerunning, but we are.
I feel like restoration is kind of an okay word.
Way better, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't think of that. It's definitely a restoration, especially since 1922. It needs an upgrade, right?
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's almost hard to believe that it's 1922. Just looking at it,
Yeah.
just sitting here now, it doesn't feel like it's 100 years old.
Yeah. I mean, it
But
is.
it
oh my
is.
gosh. Next year it'll be 100 years old. That's insane.
Wow, it will.
Very soon.
We're in a 99-year-old house.
That's insane.
90 years old.
It's really cool. I mean, you know me. I love vintage things. I think the history of something this old is so cool, and it's definitely something that should be cherished. It was always a dream of mine too, to like have an old house to be able to renovate and restore. Now, getting a little like trial run of it, I know that I would be way in over my head if I tried to do that right now. So
Yeah.
it's nice to kind of get a little bite
It
of
is.
it.
It does feel oddly. Let me be considerate about this word. It feels. I don't know. There's a word I'm looking for, and I'm probably not going to find it because sometimes I use the word providence, but by pure definition, there's more of a religious spin to that word, and that's not what I meant. I'm not aiming for religiosity here. But when I've used the word providence in the past, I just mean when something feels as if it's supposed to be so, or if there's signs in the thing that you're doing towards it being the right path.
Is kismet like the right
Maybe
kind
it's
of
okay.
connotation?
It's an all right one. That's a not common word, but it just feels right that we are having this bit of a warm up because in moving back this way and what we want to do, we definitely know we want to move towards purchasing properties and doing some other stuff that we do have skill sets for. We've always known that our thrifting habits would be wonderful for furnishing and decorating houses and stuff like that. So this is a weirdly satisfying chance to take a run at it. Yeah, because we kind of have full free reign here, and that's so much better than living in an apartment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know if we need to get into all the reasons that it's so nice having to live in an apartment.
I mean, you certainly can. I'm sure a lot of people watching know.
I mean, I guess like, what's the one thing that you're just looking at and you're going, I am so thankful for this?
That's a good question. Probably.
Can I guess what I think you're gonna say?
No, go ahead. I'll tell you what came to mind after, but go ahead and guess.
Having a washer and dryer.
Sure. Yeah. Because that didn't come to mind first, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Really, honestly, the first thing that's so good to be out from underneath of is that worry of, oh, heck, what's next?
Yeah.
Now, that may not be so obvious to some of you, but we lived under some landlords with
characters
with some slumlord tendencies. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Not straight full-on slumlord, but like leaning in that direction. And so you just knew every week you were going to get a weird email about something on the property, right? And it was awful. And you just always rolled your eyes. And I don't want to turn this podcast into like a bashing our apartment complex, but like, let me just give you one that just tickled me that I'm so happy that I don't ever have to look at again. When we moved into our apartment complex prior to moving back here, it was not a gated community. Mm-hmm. There were no gates. There were no locks. While we were there in the course of the first year, they built them. And then immediately after building them, I'm getting it wrong, a new company bought them, installed the gates to make it more appealing to raise the rent. Never turned them on. We lived there for 2 years without the gates being locked. And then we get an email one day, 2 years in, hey, we're locking the gates today. Make sure you have a key card.
Yeah.
And then started this absolute effing farce.
Farce is a good word.
Every couple weeks, hey, we're locking the gates.
Yeah.
They would
Just
be locked.
kidding.
The next day, they would never be locked again. And up until the day we left, this is a week, every couple weeks cycle, they built them to charge more rent and never used them.
Yeah.
Slumlord tendencies.
Yeah.
And we haven't had any of that in a month, and it has freed up a lot of hate in my heart.
I bet. Oh man, I think the thing that my biggest issue whenever we were living in that apartment complex is that I never felt like my car was safe.
Yeah.
Because
it wasn't. We got broken into
so many
6 or 7 times, and everyone we knew did.
Everyone.
And 2 vehicles that I own, 2 of the 3, catalytic converter ripped off.
Cut off. Yeah.
Everyone in the whole. I don't know how we all got hoodooed. Absolutely everyone in the apartment complex.
Yeah. And it's like, it wasn't even just that. It was the apartment complex would also tow your vehicle for X number of reasons unexpectedly.
That was definitely one of the black clouds.
It was a huge stress in my life.
Your car's dirty. We're going to tow it.
Yeah. It's like your car looks vacant. Like, no, I just went out to the desert for a day. We live in the desert.
Yeah. Well, no, it was just like, we would have to be afraid from traveling a bunch to come back and our car be towed.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's I didn't mean to get into all that, but that's definitely one of the biggest things that I do not and will not miss.
Yeah, like we live right next to the police department. Nobody's gonna steal something out of our car.
Yeah, nobody's and believe me, I know this for a fact. No one's climbing under my. Well, I should knock on wood here. I don't want to be YouTube internet guy who there's a clip of that says no one's going to steal my catalytic converter, and then I make a podcast next month. It's like, someone stole my catalytic converter.
Oh
but we are very close. That actually, the police department is in within eye shot of my front porch.
Literally, a cop car drives by every 30 minutes.
No, they didn't really harass me or nothing growing up, but I can tell you a quick story before we wrap this up about the living so close to a police station. How old was I? 16, 17, my girlfriend had just started driving. We're out front of the house. She's dropping me off. We had this thing where she'd pick me up from work. When she got off work, we'd go home and eat, or we'd go eat something. She'd drop me off at my house. We're saying goodbye. She's like, all right, love you. Give me a kiss. And I lean over and kiss her, and we're standing in front of her car, and she does this touchy-feely thing where she drags me on top of her.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm into it. Let's go. You know what I mean? Let's get it. And then, but then there's cars driving by. Now, mind you, one of the busiest streets in all of my hometown, not to mention statistically some years one of the worst for car accidents. So this shouldn't surprise you that like cars are going by and I'm not paying attention. A little tongue. The car that went by, I had no idea it was a cop because it's like 11 o'clock at night. Cop whips back around. What are those lights called? The cop lights?
Floodlight, I guess. I don't know.
Do they have a name, Alex? I don't know what they're called.
Hi.
You didn't know he was here?
No.
He creeped in the door. The floodlight, I think it's a floodlight. Yeah, floodlight on me. What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean?
Oh my God.
What did we do? I didn't know I did something. I thought we were in trouble just for kissing or something. She's like, I saw you slam her on that cop in his car.
God.
And I'm like, no.
That's not what happened.
And that my girlfriend said nothing.
Oh my God.
I heard her giggle.
What would you have done if I did that?
And the cop, and he was like, ma'am, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. Oh, I'd need you in the
you'd have been so
TTs.
mad.
I'd been so mad.
I would have done that. I'm like, no, it's fine. Please don't arrest him.
Totally her. She was the aggressor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get the natural assumption that the dude did it is the aggressor, and most often he probably is. But I was aggressed upon in this particular occasion. But this is because he was going back. He was probably end of his shift, 11 o'clock. I don't know when they switch over. I was mad at her for a long time for that one. I was like,
you're clearly
I was like,
over
you're
it.
going to let me get arrested. That was like 20 years, 10 years, 15 years ago,
Good
17 years ago.
grief.
Anyways, we're going to pretty much wrap up the podcast there. Like I said, I wanted to leave this video as a stamp on the beginning of this journey, and I can't wait to do a podcast one day soon. Kind of just showing off, actually saying what we did not accomplish in this house. Now, before we get out of here, a couple things. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. I think we're like 150 away or something from 1,000 subs, and we already have our watch hours. So if we get those subs, we'll be monetized on this channel, and maybe that will bring in an influx of cash for us to wear crazy costumes or something in these podcasts. I don't know. But also, please listen. Be ready because there's a couple more different episodes that we're going to want to do weekly on this podcast channel with friends and other stuff. So like there's some really cool stuff coming up, and I hope that you'll be here for it and check that stuff out. I think I'm going to do a podcast without you, Hannah. We'll have you on as a guest.
Okay, it's fine.
But
I'll get over it.
I don't think you're going to be on the next podcast.
I guess I'm just going to have to slam you into your car in front of the cops.
Well, guys, until next time, peace out.